Listen, the exact reason I created dynamic meditation was because even though I'd been practicing for so many years, I'd been practicing centering prayer, traditional meditation where you sit in the silence in the mornings, all of that. And I love that. And I still use those meditations, okay? Or those forms of reflection. Um, One of the actual reasons that I created dynamic meditation was so that it would be practical and portable. I really, really, really needed um, a skill, a tool, a way of working through my stuff, not only as it happened in the moment, right? Which is how most of our life is. Life happens in the moment. And so, how do we respond? How do we have something right there and then that we can use in the very, very moment, okay? When we get triggered, life is full of triggers, full of triggers. And remember, triggers just does this pop, and we do this intense flashback into some painful feeling of our past that we don't know because it's all unconscious, right? We don't know. It just zooms us back. We have no idea why we're crying, why we're raging, why we're yelling to the guy in the next car, why we just snapped at our kid, okay? Life is full of triggers all day long, okay? And I wanted a response to that. Now, I'm a psychotherapist and we can work through stuff during our hour, but really, I wanted to provide not only myself, but my clients, my patients, something that they could use in the moment, right? You want that. I know that. I want it. Okay. I wanted something that we could apply to things that we live every single day. And that's why I call it practical and portable, okay? And there's nothing that I teach that I haven't gone through and needed myself, right? Out of my own wounds, out of my own work. Okay, so you need to know that. So I'm going to answer your questions one by one because I think they're perfect and brilliant, and everything we're talking about, which is what happens to us every single day as humans, as live humans. Okay, so I think dynamic meditation is so powerful for breakups, which is what you're experiencing. Okay, if you're experiencing a breakup, the aftermath of a breakup, dynamic is just perfect. Okay. In fact, I had a friend who was going through a terrible breakup, and he had been going to a meditation group just where you sit and you receive a talk, and then you do 30 minutes of silence, right? Of mindful meditation, which I love. Um, but he said it was too much. It was too much and too abstract to just sit there quietly when all of these painful feelings, these painful memories, these rageful dialogues were happening in his head. And that when he took the weekend workshop with me, right, he was able, through the breakup, to just ratchet it down a bit, right? Because we can take it in steps. We can ratchet it down. We can almost take our heartbreak and apply step by step. It's like a ladder, a ladder. Okay, you can go through this ladder, which is exactly what you're describing in your email. You're describing that in your email. Okay, so you're describing doing the yes meditation, right? The yes meditation is when we have a feeling, we have the trigger, right? The external trigger. Sometimes we trigger ourselves and we sit and we say yes, we open up and we begin to say yes to the feeling that's coming up. Okay? And when I'm teaching kids, but it works beautifully with adults, when I'm teaching kids, the way I describe it is the feeling comes up, it says hi, it knocks on the door, it says, "Hi, can I leave?" And you say yes. You say yes. Yes, and yes, and yes. And because dynamic meditation is results oriented, it's results oriented, you want to see that every time you have less and less of the feeling. Okay? So let's say you start off at a 9, painful memory feeling. Ouch, that hurts. I want to cry. You say yes to your tears, which is what you said you did. You began to just say yes, and you're at a 9 and you're crying. Why? Because every feeling has a texture, right? If something's funny, we laugh. Correct? If we're mad, our heart races. We get hot, right? These are just all the descriptors of a feeling. So if something's sad, we cry. That goes for men and women and children and old people. We cry when we're sad. Okay? And if you're not crying, check in with me. If you've lived years without crying, if you're not crying, check in with me. Okay, we have a lot of stuff to say about feelings. Okay, so you're saying yes, you're crying at the steering wheel. Remember, I think that the steering wheel and the bathrooms anywhere, at a bar, at a friend's house, in your home, are like church, because that's your private place. You can go in and have your feelings. Okay, remember, practical and portable. Go anywhere. You can go to a bathroom anywhere and say yes to your feelings. You open up, the door comes open, and you say yes, yes, yes. And as you're saying yes, right, and you're imagining it leaving your body, the feeling wants to leave, because every feeling wants to leave. I repeat, every feeling wants to leave. Feelings come up so that they can go. But what do we do usually? We push them down, okay? Yes, and you're evaporating it. You're opening an imaginary window, an imaginary door. In my case, I like to breathe it out. Yes, yes. Okay. Yes, and out. Then you measure again. Where am I now? I started off at a 9. Am I at a 7? Yes and yes. Okay. Until you keep going down and down and down. Okay. And you said you did it, and all these feelings, you started crying, crying, crying. I love it. Now remember, the first waves of the feelings are the most intense. Okay? If you're having fear, you're going to shake. If you're having jealousy, remember, the first waves are like vomiting. It's all coming out, right? Remember that. So, and as you do it more and more, the feeling gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And that's what we mean by a quiet mind, because we're allowing the feeling to leave, right? Over time, it just gets quieter and quieter and quieter. So you said you started to cry loudly, and little by little, right, the images get quieter, the feeling gets quieter. And you said, but a few hours after, I started feeling okay. Okay. When we do the yes meditation, the saying yes meditation, okay, sometimes we'll feel the relief immediately, right after. You're like, I love that, I'm done. Now, the more I practice this, the quicker it happens, the quicker I feel relief, okay? But sometimes it happens a few hours later, like you said, but a few hours after I started feeling okay. And it's true. And let me give you a guarantee. The next time you have that painful memory, the exact one, or you see the person that hurt you, you'll feel it less and less. So let's say that the memory brings up an 100% feeling. After you do the yes meditation and you let it go, when you come back to it, there'll be a little bit less. You'll come back at 85%. You'll never start again at 100%. Never. Okay? I guarantee this if you do the work. Okay. You said you started driving again and you were feeling pretty good, right? Okay, so that's the first part. You say yes. The feeling is going to come up with a lot of intensity, especially if you're not used to it. Okay, especially if you're not used to it. Okay. You said that you woke up the next morning and you felt sad again. And then you just sat and did the meditation. But check it out, it was just at a lower level sadness. Already you had released some of the feelings. Right. And you write, this time I got teary eyed, but I didn't cry so hard. You'll see that it comes down and down, and your mind around that person, around that event, around that memory will get more quiet. And so for dynamic meditation, that's what we mean by the quiet mind. Okay, we don't sit and have an immediate quiet mind. No, we actually allow for things to come up and out. We measure them. Is this getting less and less and less because we want results? You guys, we don't do this. We don't do this because it's trendy. We do it because we want a better life. We want a more joyful life. We want a more peaceful life. We don't do it just to do it. Okay, we don't have all of these feelings. We don't allow them to come up just to do it. We want to do it because we want results. We want to be free. We don't want to be enslaved by old memories, old reactions anymore. Correct? Yes, say yes to that. Okay, so perfect. All right, so that's the first answer to that question. Okay, say yes. Now, let me just reiterate. I want you to get a picture in your mind. Every feeling is an energy. Every feeling has energy, right? Anger feels different from grief. Pride feels different from lust. There's an energetic quality to every feeling. Okay? So if we just get technical, when we're having feelings, we're getting filled with bubbles of energy. So get this, if we don't say yes to it, if it doesn't leave, all of this energy actually implodes inside of us, right? Which is why you snap at your kid, why you end up crying in some random moment, right? Because the trigger will come and there's the energy, there's the feeling. Instead of just saying yes to it now and allowing, right? Like popping a Coca-Cola bottle, allowing the feeling to leave. When people aren't feeling, it's like they're emotionally constipated. At some point, your body's going to get sick. This is no joke. At some point, you're going to have migraines, high blood pressure, inflammation, because the body can't handle all the feelings. Emotions are supposed to be a signal. They're supposed to give us a message. They're messengers. Thank you. We love them. Okay? Now, in heartbreak, it's a message about looking into ourselves and saying, why did this hurt? What does this remind me of? What memory does this give to me? Okay? We do the work. The feeling comes up and it gives us a signal. It gives us a message as to what we should be working on. So, feelings are an energy. We say yes to them. We allow them to leave. We measure them. We measure feelings, right? Do it like a scientist, okay? Allow it to leave. This process is not always comfortable. In fact, most of the time it's uncomfortable until you get used to it, until you realize, oh my gosh, it feels so much better to have control of releasing my feelings rather than keeping them inside or having them feel terribly out of control. Okay? When we're not training our feelings, because this is a training. We learn how to train ourselves. And think of it, we're not trained as children. We're told to not cry, we're told to not have our feelings. Okay? No one says, oh, you're afraid. Okay, how afraid are you? We're going to have the feeling knock on the door. Can you say yes to it? Up and out. Okay? Now, I'm going to clue you into something that's coming later, which is anxiety. I find that anxiety is a catch-all, right? It's a huge net for all the feelings that we're not having. And by the way, when I get men in my office, I always say, when was the last time you cried? Because anxiety in men, so much of my prescription for men who are terribly anxious, I tell them to go cry. Okay? Go cry in the shower, cry at the steering wheel, cry during a movie, but start letting the energy out. It's energy. Let's just be mechanical humans, right? It's messages. Let's listen to them and then let them go. All right? The Say Yes meditation is super powerful for that. And measure. Okay? Measure. And each time there'll be less and less and less of that particular event, about that particular person, or about that particular memory. Okay? All right. So that's part one.